With the release of the PS4 Pro, there are probably a lot of people wondering if it's worth getting over the standard PS4 or replacing their existing PS4 or what it even is. Basically, the PS4 Pro is an enhanced version of the PS4, as it has beefed up hardware. It will play all PS4 games just the same as the regular PS4 and comes with everything you'd expect of a new console, such as a controller, cables, and a headset, which I'm never going to use because I hate earbuds. What the PS4 Pro offers over the standard version is increased graphical fidelity, higher frame rates, support for 4K TVs, support for HDR, and a 1TB hard drive as opposed to the standard 500GB. However, it will be up to the game developers themselves whether or not they will actually use these features, as well as which features they use. It can also use the extra power for a better experience with PlayStation VR. And if you're wondering what HDR is, it stands for High Dynamic Range, which is exactly what it sounds like. When a TV uses HDR, it uses a higher range of colors and will appear more vibrant and accurate, which allows the image on screen to be more true to life, or wildly fantasized depending on what the artists choose to do with it. Many people say HDR makes a bigger difference than the difference between 4K resolution and 1080p. Some won't even notice the change with 4K alone, but if you sit as close as I do to the TV, it appears much more crisp and clean. Even still, HDR makes a really significant impact. Generally, HDR only comes on 4K sets. You won't see many 1080p TVs that offer it. Supposedly, developers will still be able to improve frame rates or graphics for 1080p TVs on the new hardware, but again, it's up to the developers if they decide they want to do that. There aren't a lot of games right now that take advantage of the Pro, only a handful of games have gotten updates to run in 4K and use HDR. But the system will automatically upscale all PS4 games to 4K if they don't already run in 4K natively. Upscale video will never look as good as video natively running in full resolution, but it does look a bit cleaner and better overall. Now, I can't show you exactly what you can expect to see, for multiple reasons really, but the biggest reason would be HDR. Direct capture won't really show the HDR properly, nor can I capture in 4K, so just bear with me. Here's Infamous Second Son running on a standard PS4 in 1080p. Now here it is on the PS4 Pro, running in 4K with the HDR after getting the update. This game doesn't really benefit from the update, it just looks plain darker. There are some times where you can tell the colors and overall visuals really popped, but considering Infamous doesn't really look all that great graphically to begin with, it's hard to be impressed by it. Now here's NBA 2K17 running on a standard PS4 in 1080p, looks pretty good. Now here it is on the PS4 Pro. NBA 2K17 actually has a big difference. This game natively runs in 4K with HDR. It looks very sharp and bright colors really pop. It really benefits from the HDR. You may notice that on a typical TV, when you try to increase the color saturation, colors that are meant to be pale become oversaturated. With HDR, the court retains its light woody color, while the bright colors, like team logos, are really vivid. Overall, it looks very crisp and accurate. Immediately, you can tell the native support makes a much bigger impact than updating an old game. But again, I'm going to stress it's up to the game developers how much the game will improve. If done right, it can really make a huge difference. Existing games getting an upgrade probably won't make the best out of the higher fidelity hardware, but as we see new games coming out that will natively support this system, you'll probably see a big difference there. And new games coming that have the enhancement will have this icon to indicate that they have an enhancement when running on the PS4 Pro. Do keep in mind that to use HDR, you need HDMI 2.0A. A 2.0A HDMI cable is included with the PS4 Pro, but if you use a receiver, you'll need to make sure it's compatible. My surround sound receiver does support 4K, but is only compatible up to 2.0, meaning I need to connect to the PS4 directly to the TV. If your receiver is older and doesn't support 2.0A, you won't be able to use it and HDR. All is not lost though, as most 4K TVs and receivers have optical ports. Invest in a simple optical cable to run from your TV to your receiver and you'll be able to have your HDR and your sound system. I did initially have some trouble getting HDR to work on my Samsung TV. After a quick Google search, I found out that Samsung refers to HDR as UHD color. Apparently, my TV only supports HDR on HDMI port 1, meaning if I want to connect any more HDR devices in the future, I'm going to have to shell out the cash for another HDMI switch, one that supports HDMI 2.0A, which can be rather pricey right now. Of course, this is more of an issue with my TV than the PS4 Pro, but this is new technology that may or may not have some kinks in your own situation, and you'll want to be aware of it. Another thing worth noting, it does play Blu-ray, but does not support 4K Blu-rays, which is rather surprising, but not a deal breaker if you just want to game. If you feel having a 4K Blu-ray player in your console is important to you, maybe look into Xbox One Project Scorpio, which is the enhanced version of the Xbox One releasing 2017. The disk drive on the Pro is much quieter than the standard PS4, even if it does only spin for a few moments after inserting a disk, at least for games. On the downside, the exhaust fan is louder with enhanced games, and you will hear this while you're playing, unless you like to play with your speakers on high volume. I guess all that power needs more cooling. As far as size goes, PS4 Pro is only marginally larger than the standard, having only an increased width by a few centimeters and virtually the same height in depth. So with all that said, does the extra power make it worth buying over the standard PS4 or replacing your existing one? That really depends on what you're looking for. If you just don't care about graphics or frame rates and just want the games, then you may as well save yourself the $100 and go with the standard or stick with your current one. For those that have a 4K TV or are planning on or thinking about getting one and want to get the most out of it with their games, I say go for it and pick up the PS4 Pro version, especially if you don't already own a PS4. If you do already own a PS4, you should consider how much the better visuals mean to you. If you think you're going to make the upgrade, you can easily transfer all your data from your PS4 to the new one. Just check out this video on how to make the transfer. And that's everything you need to know about the PS4 Pro. Feel free to leave a comment, and I will catch you later.